They exist to help the nation understand the full scope of the program. It is in this context that the IFP welcomes the President's decision to act on our recommendation for a commission of inquiry as a response to the serious allegations raised by Lieutenant General Mkhwana's.
The EFF has retained Ward 13 at Sishego near Polokwane in Limpopo following yesterday's by-election. EFF won the ward with a total of 57.34%. The ANC came in second with a support base of over 2,000 votes, putting the party at just above 40%. The SACP, who was contesting elections independent from the ANC for the first time in the province, secured 70 votes, or just above 1% of the votes. IEC Provincial Electoral Officer Nkaru Matita announced the new ward councillor of the EFF.
The winner for this ward is a candidate from the Economic Freedom Fighters, Mongata and Michael Ramaphosa, who won this ward with 57.34%. Would like to congratulate the EFF for this hard work, and we are saying those parties that lost, next time I think they will work harder, and really we are satisfied with these by-elections.
Further afield, Syria says its army has begun to withdraw from the mainly Druze city of Zweda. More than 350 people have died since last weekend. This is according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Israel, which launched airstrikes on Damascus yesterday, says Syrian forces have been attacking Druze civilians. An advisor to Syria's Foreign Minister Ibrahim Alabi told the BBC Israel's attacks were increasing instability in the country.
What they are doing is actually putting the Druze community as a whole at risk, because while we are trying to calm sectarian tensions, when Syrians see that there's one group that is being aided by a country that still occupies Syrian lands, that just bombed the center of Damascus, that has military incursions into Syria, that is not helpful.
Today marking 75 years since the existence of the SABC News service, we're tracking down the evolution of SABC News. The Director of News Services, Jan van Zyl, took us through the evolving nature of news gathering at the SABC during an interview on the 5th of July 1977.
Like all other news media, we have input sources. The main input sources for overseas news or extraterritorial news are the news agencies, wire services we get from the capitals of the world. We get quite a number of them. 5 major agencies we use, covering the world for us. And then we have our own reporters, our own correspondents in various capitals of the world. And we have our own reporters at home gathering news, from which we do extract and select then the news we broadcast in our various services.
Recapping the top story, 3 people have been shot dead and 2 others wounded in a shooting incident in Gugulethu on the Cape Flats. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM. Prime time all day long. Hey, halala, halala, halala.
My name is Fikile Makama. I'm from Cape Town and I'm a defender. Between city life and village life, I will choose village life. I like being around people. I would like to say to my friends back home, they know where I come from. They've seen my struggles. So me being here is me representing them and my family. We are the champions. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
SAFM, in partnership with SABC CSI and the Butongo Rhino and Lion Nature Reserve, will be providing a game drive experience for the Orlando Children's Home for our Nelson Mandela Day initiative. Tune in to the Full Circle with Bertha Chiruma on the 18th of July 2025, 1 to 3 p.m. Coming to you live from the Butongo Rhino and Lion Nature Reserve as we commemorate Nelson Mandela Day. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
It's fire, flavor, and fierce competition on the Tastemaster SA this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2. The semi-finals heat up as the final three transform the humble braai into a gourmet three-course showstopper, with Chef Sean Scrooby turning up the pressure. Who will flame out and who will sear their place in the grand finale? The Tastemaster SA, Tuesday evenings at 7:30, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. on SABC2.
SABC News turns 75 on July the 17th, 2025.
Since the dawn of democracy, SABC News has grown into your trusted source for news and current affairs, shaping our nation and the world for the past 75 years.
From July 12th to the 17th, SAFM Current Affairs presents exclusive interviews with iconic presenters, producers, and news leaders.
We're exploring the legacy of SABC News, highlighting the voices that have defined our story.
Join SAFM for a week of compelling reports and unforgettable moments.
SABC News at 75.
Independent and impartial. The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
I want to first talk to you about the African diaspora. You may have heard about a study in 2013 that revealed that cash transfers from Africans living outside of the continent have now begun to exceed donor aid from foreign countries into Africa. In 2012, total remittances to Africa stood at $60 billion, while in the same year, official development aid to sub-Saharan Africa totaled $44.6 billion by comparison. Now, this got me thinking. If we can do such great work with our money from outside of Africa, what can we do with our skills, our talent, our experiences, our education, and our passion for our countries and for our continent? Imagine how different our politics would be if those same skills, influence, leadership, talent were put in work in service of the public good. Now, there's a new energy around entrepreneurialism and innovation and growth in Africa today. But that energy isn't going to translate into lasting prosperity unless we get our politics right. I know that most of you, if not the vast majority of you, are completely fed up, turned off, discouraged, disgusted by politics, either in your country, in this country, all over the world. You really are the ones that you have been waiting for. There are no great saviors waiting somewhere in the wings to save us from future problems. There's nobody who is waiting in the wings to come and save us from ourselves. There's just us. And I'm not going back without you.
That is Lindiwe Mazibuku, founder of Future Elect and member of the Eminent Persons Group. A very good morning to all of you. Thank you for tuning in to the show. My name is Cathy Mohlahlana, and I'll be with you until midday. This is The Talking Point as we lead conversations that move us. Coming up on the show, it's a Thursday. So today in the second hour, we'll be getting into Municipal Watch, and we'll, of course, then be taking a look at the municipality out in Enoch Gijima. And this is in the Eastern Cape, in an area formerly known as Queenstown. And we'll be getting to the center of some of the challenges that municipality is facing. We'll have a number of guests from different sectors of that municipality on the show. So that's what you can expect in the second hour. Municipal Watch, Enoch Gijima, local municipality. You might remember a couple of years ago, they were also in the news for all the wrong reasons in as far as the procurement of certain services are concerned. But we can get into that at 10 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we're looking at the complaint that has been filed by Action SA against medical aid schemes. And effectively, the basis on which this complaint is being brought is around racial bias, and in particular, against black healthcare practitioners. So Dr. Katlego Mutudi, who is the Managing Director of the Board of Healthcare Funders, will join us for that conversation. Dr. Khosile Tlhape, who's a Member of Parliament for Action SA, will also join that conversation. He, of course, has been in the medical space, joining Action SA, representing them in Parliament. And I think there's a lot that he will have to say about this situation, especially as the person who has come forward to officially file the criminal complaint. It's an issue that when part of the report around it was released, you'd remember that there was a complaint filed and a report conducted. And much of that, unfortunately, at the time that, the Section 59 panel probed these issues, there wasn't enough attention paid to how it would systemically change the medical aid environment, because that's what is needed. If there's racial bias, if there is exclusion of certain healthcare practitioners, now that we know, how do we change the situation? And the industry seemed to not go as far as wanting to do that, let alone even consider it. So we'll get to the bottom of some of these issues with those healthcare practitioners in the final hour of the show. So that's what you can expect on the talking point today. Of course, we start off the show with the open line, as we always do. You can call in 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial, 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. On X at SFM Radio, the hashtag there, SFM Talking Point. So I think for today, one of the issues that we have decided to stay with, because it is ongoing, is in relation to the country's security cluster. Yesterday in Parliament, we saw that joint sitting of the portfolio committees on request of the Speaker, Toko Didiza. This is for the committees of Police, Justice and Constitutional Development to look into, and including the Intelligence Committee, by the way, to consider the issue of the allegations made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, and then come back to Parliament to give Parliament a report by no later than next week on the 23rd about how this matter should be approached, the processes that must be followed, and what those processes must entail. The Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence did not come to that meeting, and that was a matter that was part of the discussion. You also had MPs given the opportunity then to share their views on how Parliament can get involved in this matter. It was, however, the reflections of one particular parliamentarian, that is Fadiel Adams, who's a leader of the National Coloured Congress, that I believe really stood out. He's going to be joining us later on the show at 9:30, and I think it's important for us to hear all of the perspectives around this particular story that our security cluster is caught up in. But in case you missed it or you didn't hear what he had to say, here's a snippet of the submissions that he made before the committees yesterday, and we'll be getting more from him at 9:30.
You know, so much has been said about General Mkonazi and the allegations he made. And I find it very, very suspicious that a full minister is suspended. We can use whatever nice terms we want to. He's suspended. And the Deputy National Commissioner is suspended on the basis of an allegation. But 7 seniors, generals in SAPS, are charged, and they're still at work. And General Mkonazi is coming out in defense of these people. He's saying that this is an HR matter. General Lushaba and General Kumalo, they instructed Colonel Mobaso to buy 200 million rands worth of laptops that have never been issued to SAPS. Right across the road here, organized crime is working from cell phones. They don't have laptops. How is this an HR matter? How is it that we're talking about the lie, the alleged lie that Minister Nkunu told the police portfolio regarding his relationship with Brown, but the National Commissioner could lie about the brigadier that they brought from BMW? How is this okay? Why are we targeting certain people as Parliament? We are eulogizing General Mkonazi. I, as the complainant in the charges against those 7 generals, when this portfolio called me a madman, that staged press conference with a general who now seeks additional protection, where what looked like an armed militia behind him, it was a threat to this country. Let us call it what it is. He was trying to incite policemen to take action in the event of whatever it is that he knew was coming. Let me tell this committee what I suspect was coming. As the accounting officer for the South African Police Services, I suspect that the National Commissioner himself is up for arrest. And that press conference was nothing more than a preemptive move. And the country appears to have fallen for it. General Mkonazi must appear before this committee. The National Commissioner must appear before this committee. The IDAC must appear before this committee. General Kumalo, General Lushabo must come and sit in front of this committee. And I want to appeal and actually ask that we make it a recommendation that every member of this committee that has ever met with any law enforcement or investigative body or given them a statement or had a conversation must come clean and tell us what he said. I will be the first. I have a suspicion there are a few more other people that are hiding things within this committee. Now, in order to clean out the service, we must all be honest. We can't demand accountability from the boys in blue and hide things right here. This thing is much bigger than a press conference called by a Lieutenant General from KZN. The entire top management of the South African Police Services appears to be corrupt. This is the basis of what we need to do. This is what we need to start.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply. Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
So you heard there then the reflections of the leader of the National Coloured Congress, Honourable Fadiel Adams, not Fadiel. I think I had a slip of the tongue and said Fadiel Adams. It's Fadiel Adams, and he'll join us at 9:30 to explain those comments and submissions that he made before Parliament and what really is behind them, at least as far as he's concerned. But I did think he made a very good point around the officials under crime intelligence. We saw just how public those arrests were. Why would they still be allowed to be at work? Why would they be allowed to be at work when there is an official matter that is in relation to their work, by the way, in relation to their work, and yet they still get to show up at the office each and every day. That, for me, was incredibly surprising, because I don't think that it's been public knowledge that these individuals are still at work. The natural assumption would be that they are suspended on the basis that they're facing criminal charges on accusations related to misconduct within their jobs. But I don't know what the standards are. I could be wrong on this one. Let me bring in some of your calls. In the meantime, John, you're out in Durban. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning, SFM listeners. Cathy, I don't know if I missed something here about this national dialogue. You know, why this national dialogue is taking so much of money? Because, in fact, they should have this dialogue in the parliament. Why they want so much of money? Because we pay them there. This is a national dialogue, they should have it in parliament there. Not taking all this money that 700 million rand. This is not a national dialogue. In fact, it should be called Mr. Mbeki and Ramaphosa's dialogue. Because we as the people of South Africa, we are suffering, we got no job. Every town is got a sewer on the street, potholes. That money should be used there. Why they continue to use so much of money on the national dialogue that is not going to help a South African? The national dialogue must be held in parliament, not in a hotel, out in a hotel there. Thank you.
You know, John, when this figure first came out, like many South Africans, I think, you know, one just thought, surely this can't be. Yesterday, when I was listening to the presidency budget vote, Minister in the presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, spoke about how the national dialogue is not just a 1 or 2 day event, but it is going to be a process that runs over 12 months. Over 12 months, this dialogue is going to take place. And I thought that introduced a different dimension, because if the process is running for the entire year, that means it's going to what? Produce a report or whatever work it's doing, the culmination of it is only then going to be for 2027. It just seems strange to me that this dialogue is now a 12-month experience, endeavor. I don't know. It just feels like, where's the sense of urgency around? Because if we're talking, surely it should be, okay, we're talking now and we're getting there, I think at most 3 months. But 12 months? Did you hear that, John?
No, I didn't hear that, Cathy. Cathy, you know, we've been taken for the right here in South Africa by these politicians. Because if this thing called national, it should be held in parliament. Because the parliament is there. Why they want to take it outside the hotels and taking so long? Because I think all the things that they're going to discuss there is something that we all know. You know, it's not something new that is coming from somewhere. Because they are failed to deliver. They have failed to do the things that they're supposed to be doing. Now they're taking money by they using excuse of these things like national dialogue. So all this money here is supposed to be helping people. No, is going to their pocket, because we as a South African, we're not going to benefit anything out of this. Like all the commission that has been put on place to investigate, nobody has been in charge. No, nothing has happened. You know, this 740,000 million is going on waste. Cathy, South Africa, we should stand up and say enough is enough. This money is not going there. Okay. The national dialogue must be in parliament. We got a parliament there.
Okay,
yes.
John, I've heard you loud and clear. And the other risk, of course, is that the longer it runs, the more expensive it's likely to be. So whatever the figure we start at might not be the figure that we end at. It is very concerning. Denzel, you're in Kimberley. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Cathy, this comment, or I don't know how to put it, about Mr. Adams is what we all know. All of them know something. But my problem is, if I was Mr. Adams, I would have declined my seat in Parliament from the beginning. Because Parliament, the Constitutional Court, as we speak, Parliament has a guilty verdict over its head. I want to start there. We cannot expect Parliament, these politicians now, to sort out our problems. They are incompetent. They have been found guilty for not doing their work. Secondly, Mr. Adams, if you are listening, Mr. Mkhwanazi, like you said, it was some sort of a suicidal thing that he did. But you as well, with your colleagues in Parliament, I watched them last night. They are joking. There's a thing between themselves where they're calling out each other. They are not serious about this matter, like any other matter. If I were Mr. Adams, I will decline my Parliament seat with an immediate effect. Then I will take them seriously. All of them, they are there for the money. This national dialogue, it's there. Money will be, we will be robbed again, Cathy. Our tax, the tax that we pay, we will be robbed again, I promise you now. So advice from Denzel and Kimberley to you, Mr. Adams, decline your membership sheet as of today. Then I will take you serious.
Okay. Denzel, out in Kimberley, thanks for those reflections. It's 9:30. On the other side of this, we speak to Fadiel Adams.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, 3 people have been shot dead and 2 others wounded in a shooting incident in Gugulethu on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Andre Trout says they responded to the incident in Muletsane Street in Crossroads last night. Gauteng parents have 8 days to get their children's school documents in order as the online application process for grades 1 and 8 opens next Thursday. It closes on the 29th of August. And President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed the Tshwane University of Technology Vice-Chancellor, Professor Tiniko Maluleke, and former South African politician Rolf Meyer as co-chairs of the upcoming National Dialogue. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
Are we ready for a real conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
2022 WAFCON finalists, the Atlas Lionesses are breathing with extra confidence to get to this year's semi-final, while the female Eagles want to steal the moment of joy from the Moroccans. This is the quarter-final showdown of the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. Morocco takes on Mali this Friday, 18 July at 8:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 3 at 9 p.m. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the Soundtrack of Your Life, broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
We're still leading conversations that move us right here on The Talking Point. It is still the open line. I will continue to take your calls on 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. What we're going to do now is bring in Fadiel Adams, leader of the National Coloured Congress in Parliament. Fadiel, good morning to you. Thanks for your time today.
Hi, good morning to you, young lady, and to all your listeners.
So yesterday, like many others, we watched your submissions before the committees as you grappled with how Parliament needs to respond to the allegations that have been made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. There's a story that has captured South Africa, and I think it's probably one of the biggest crises to face the security cluster on a national level, involving the kind of scandal that it does. Speak to us about the submissions that you made. We've played a portion of them, and your own interpretation and analysis of this moment that we find ourselves in as a country.
South Africa is truly staring into the abyss right now. What comes out of this investigation will determine if we survive or if we become the Colombia of Africa. Because I can tell you now, there is a concerted effort being made by organized crime through certain high-ranking policemen to force us to the point of lawlessness. The submission I made before Parliament yesterday was I didn't see the need for a commission. Commissions take years. They cost millions. This country is in financial trouble as it is. The NCC does not support the formation of an ad hoc committee because we have parliamentary committees. This thing should be run through the police portfolio in conjunction with justice and intelligence. But I can tell you now, my sister, what South Africa knows, they must not yet formulate opinions because the facts are going to come out and the facts are going to be shocking. We are run by criminals. I understand the frustration of the previous caller, Derek. I understand 100%. I don't agree with anything he said, but I do understand his frustration.
Part of your submissions included what you said was an imminent arrest of the National Commissioner. Tell us more about what you know about that and where the basis for these allegations that you're making come from.
Okay. Without saying too much, I'll tell you what I think I can. I was in possession of some really, really secretive and sensitive documents. It was slipped under my office door by I don't know who. I looked through these documents. At first, I struggled to believe what I was reading. And then I thought it might be fake. And then I grappled with what to do with it. I said, look, the responsible thing to do is not to take it to the media. It's not to contact the people implicated here. I'm going to lay a charge. I went to Grand Central Police Station. I laid charges against 4 people. I was informed 45 minutes to an hour later that the provincial office had come to collect my dockets. I asked, is this regular? I was told no. They shouldn't be meddling. I said, okay. I flew to Johannesburg. I went to Langlaagte Police Station. I went to Orlando Police Station. I made it hard for the documents to disappear. I laid the charges there.
I was contacted by the IDAC, and I handed over the information. I said, you might want to have a look at this. You might want to verify this. The IDAC, I think, took between 6 and 8 months, maybe a little bit more. And then 7 generals were arrested. Remember, I only laid charges against 4. I don't know what other information they uncovered. But what I can tell you is that millions, potentially billions of rands have been siphoned from that secret service fund that is managed by certain generals who I will not name, but it will come out in court. Now, my suspicion when I name the National Commissioner is he's the accounting officer for SABC. If he is going to say that he did not know, then he's unfit. If he knew about it, he should be arrested. And the timing of all of this press conference by General Mkhwanazi, the question nobody's asking is, did he have authorization from the National Commissioner to have this conference? Why is nobody asking this question? Because if he didn't, he should be on suspension. He should be suspended for staging that that press conference. Excuse my language. Sorry for the slip. He should be suspended for staging that conference. The allegations he makes, they are shocking and damning, and if they are true, General Sabia must be suspended and must be charged. And the same applies to the minister. But why is nobody questioning the timing of all of this? And why is General Mkhwanazi, who's portraying himself as the savior of SABC, defending the people who have allegedly plundered the Secret Service account? I unfortunately can't tell you all of it, but people have purchased things that shouldn't have been purchased. People have gone on holidays where they shouldn't have gone. It is just shocking. And this man is saying it's an HR issue. And he's mentioning drug cartels and the MP with the sensitive information. If the general has any evidence that is a drug cartel linked to policemen in Joburg, why has he not laid a charge, which is the responsible thing to do, which is what his oath of office demands that he does? Why is he saving it for a press conference? General Mkhwanazi has presided over another general's DC. This general stumbled across a drug deal, a R1 billion drug deal. He thwarted it. He prevented those drugs from hitting the streets. That general was charged by General Khumalo. In the disciplinary hearing, with the evidence before him, General Mkhwanazi found this general to be innocent of the charge. Did General Mkhwanazi ask why the 7 police officers that were facilitating this R1 billion drug deal were never charged? They were never charged. All I'm saying is let me applaud Mkhwanazi for making that statement against the police minister, because it is shocking, damning, and perhaps truthful. But he must not nitpick the facts. He must not decide who is innocent and who is guilty. He must not decide who should face the law and who should face a DC. That is not what he is. He's a policeman, first of all. All I'm going to tell you today is that the rot within the South African police services is so deep, it is beginning to look like we shouldn't have management. I see people are sticking their hands up. I see people are arranging protests. I see people are prepared to go to the streets. I suggest that you guys wait for all the facts to be unpacked. Now, here's the twist in the tale. General Mkhwanazi, General Sabia, Lieutenant General, Major General Lushaba, Major General Feroz Khan, all of them will appear before the portfolio committee. All of them will be tasked to account. There will be no place to hide. I have attempted to go after General Khumalo and National Commissioner Masimola in portfolio, and I was thwarted. I was stopped in my tracks by Ian Cameron, Chairperson Ian Cameron of the Democratic Alliance. I was prevented from finding the truth and getting the answers that South Africa needs to hear. Because if the status quo is maintained, there's no hope left for this country. If we lose the service and if we lose the judicial services, those of us with passports must leave, because we'll all be targets after that. That is the truth.
You talk about the Crime Intelligence Fund, which is at the center of the complaint that you raised, right? And what was happening with these resources and how it was effectively being used as a slush fund. Is that correct for me to categorize it that way?
It is.
When you look at what might potentially be at play within the police service currently, because you have management that is quite clearly factionalized. General Mkhwanazi did admit that he told the National Commissioner about that briefing. The National Commissioner also acknowledged that he knew and that he saw nothing wrong. Why do you think there was something wrong with it?
So, in the South African policing operations, anyhow, have you ever heard of a policeman going public with allegations? Ever? You're supposed to report it internally. So if the commissioner sees nothing wrong with it, the commissioner must tell us why he sees nothing wrong with it. Then the commissioner must also explain to us why he's not suspended the 7 generals that were arrested, that stand before the court. Are they part of a cabal? Is the commissioner part of that cabal? He must answer us. Because, again, certain people are being prosecuted properly, and certain people are being exempted improperly. If the commissioner sees nothing wrong with Mkhwanazi going on television and accusing the Deputy National Commissioner of being a crook without there being a court finding, let me explain something to you. South Africa, that's a crime. That's libel. So if the commissioner sees nothing wrong with this, then the commissioner must be called onto this radio station, and the commissioner must come and explain why he saw nothing wrong with it. It's like me standing here and calling the National Commissioner a crook. I don't have the right to do that, irrespective of what I think or what I've seen. Only a court can make that determination. Is Mkhwanazi a court? Is he a magistrate? No, he's not. He had no right to do that. He had no right to do that.
But he says he has evidence, and the impression that has been created is that every attempt that he may have made to have these matters looked into has either been pushed aside to serve the political interests of some people, to the point where the reason he's coming out publicly is what we read into it, out of frustration, out of lack of support, because there are those who are thwarting his efforts to uncover the scale of corruption and crime because of the individuals that it implicates.
You see, there's the contradiction. We live in a constitutional democracy, and the evidence he has must be tested in court. That's how it works. He should know this. The evidence he has, it must be decided on by a sober magistrate or a sober judge. Mkhwanazi is not that person. He must hand over the evidence. There must be a police investigation. There must be a trial. The man has a right to a fair and speedy trial. And then a magistrate will decide if Sabia is a crook. And please understand when I tell you, I am not on Team Sabia, because I am of the view that this is a battle of bad versus bad for the control of our police services. When the general makes this statement, he's aware of the fact that it's wrong. He's got no right to make that statement. And then the second part of what you said, if he's telling us he's frustrated because of a lack of progress, because he's tried to report this, I'd like to see those emails. I would like to see those emails, because this is the first time I hear of it. But now, please understand something. When I laid a charge in Cape Town, when the dockets were collected and went missing, can you imagine my frustration? And I've got proof that it happened. And those policemen will be prosecuted too if I have my way. If General Mkhwanazi is as clean as he says he is, why wait until now? How long has he known about these things? Why did he not ask why the 7 policemen who facilitated a R1 billion drug deal and got caught were never prosecuted? If he's the savior of SAPS, why didn't he do this? Does any of this make sense to you? I'm not accusing the general of a thing. I'm asking the questions the country should be asking. Why is the country not asking this question? I mean, I understand the media's bitten into the narrative. It's brilliant. That's what the media's for. You're here for sensationalism. You're here for hype. You're here for views and listeners. Brilliant. I'm not begrudging you that. I'm here for truth. This is why I'm in this portfolio. This is why I chose SAPS as the portfolio for me to sit on, because I'm well aware of the corruption that happens here. Remember that I live in the most dangerous area in the country. And what's happening on top, it affects us at the bottom. Now tell me something. If seven generals are before the court, potential thieves, potential fraudsters, potential criminals, all of them What does this do for the morale?
Super Falcons are chasing victory to graduate to the semi-finals. But the Copper Queens want to maintain their unbeaten rhythm. This is the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. Catch Nigeria versus Zambia this Friday, 18 July at 5:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, S3 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hear the rhythm, feel the heat at the Imbaula Music Festival in partnership with SAFM, where music, culture and community come alive. Join us on the 2nd of August 2025 at Pretoria Botanical Gardens from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to vibe to Sanal musicians Kelvin Momo, Amanda Black, Zing Humalo, Trompis, and many more. More than just music. Share stories, spark change, and unite against gender-based violence. Grab your tickets at imbaula.co.za. Brought to you by SAFM and SABC1. Hear the rhythm, feel the heat. Imbaula. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The soundtrack of your life with Ernest Pillay.
Some songs take you back instantly to your first love, a road trip, or just simpler times. The soundtrack of your life with me, Ernest Pillay, is where timeless hits and forgotten favorites come together to tell your story. It's not just music, it's memories, moments, and the meaning behind this jam.
Don't you change someone by night.
Rediscover the songs that shaped your journey. Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 p.m., only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Standing on his own.
Tweet at SAFM Radio and at Cathy Mohlahlana.
All right, we continue with the National Roundtable this morning. Fadiel Adams, leader of the National Coloured Congress, on air, unpacking the submissions that he made before the joint committees yesterday on how Parliament should be dealing with this scandal around our security cluster. So, Fadiel, perhaps before, because I've got one or two questions from our listeners that I'm going to put to you shortly. But what is it that we as South Africans should be doing in this moment with this information?
Process it. Understand the amount of trouble this country is in. And let us not take the word of any one man on the issues of national security, whether his name is Fadiel Adams or Nkladla Nkwanasi. Let us look at the facts. Let us not listen to the hype. For all you know, I could be lying to you. I want South Africa to follow this police portfolio meeting. I want South Africa to listen with a clear mind and understand where we're going, what's gone wrong. Because if we don't understand what's gone wrong, there's no way we can fix it. We're bound to make the same mistakes again and again. We can't afford to make the same mistakes. This country that so many people have died for, that so many people have sacrificed everything for, is in danger of turning into just another failed African state. We cannot allow politics to destroy everything.
One of our listeners says, please remind Mr. Adams that Lieutenant General Nkwanasi did make a number of representations before the Portfolio Committee on the 5th of March that he alluded to in his press conference. He even mentioned it in that press briefing.
But this is my point. This is my whole point. Why wait until now? I was in that portfolio meeting. It was in that same meeting where I was prevented from interrogating these generals by Chairperson Ian Cameron. I was in that meeting. The caller needs not tell me about it. I was part of that meeting where General Nkwanasi hinted and alluded to certain things, but he didn't say anything. Now, if this is in March, why wait until July before you say anything?
It's the timing of it all that I'm questioning.
But there seems to be something else, Fadiel, that perhaps you're not coming out straight on. What is it about this timing now that is questionable? What is happening that perhaps we're not alive to in this moment that you can give us a bit of guidance on?
So I'm not part of the investigating team, and I've got minimal contact with the investigator, even as the complainant. But when those 7 generals were arrested, I said to me, there's going to be more. And I said to myself, it would not surprise me if the National Commission is up for arrest. Now, I cannot confirm this. But at the way this thing played, with the National Commissioner saying that she's nothing wrong with that press conference, you connect the dots. I'm not going to make allegations. I am not Nkwazi. I'm not going to make allegations that I cannot substantiate. What I'm going to tell you is that something's amiss. Something's amiss. The general went on just listen carefully, went on a stage in khaki with the militia behind him. Have you ever seen anything like that? Telling policemen to rise up in the event that whatever he had in his mind might happen. I view that as incitement. Where was the threat in that room? To have 10 automatic assault rifles around you. Where was the threat? From a handful of journalists. Nkwazi mustn't play politics, man. He's a policeman. He's not a politician. I'm a politician and I don't want to be one because it's a filthy game. But on this issue of the integrity of the South African, what's less of the integrity of the South African police services, we cannot compromise. Please understand, before Cathy Mohlahlana was appointed as our National Commissioner, there was a big debate around his fitness. A big debate. People are also forgetting the Louis Vuitton bags that these people received from a police vendor. People are acting like these people are angels. I'm not calling them anything, but I'm not calling them angels. There's so much more that goes on here. Nkwazi must come clean. Let him answer the issue of the Louis Vuitton bags also, while we're at it. I don't understand. I can tell you this. There are good policemen that were railroaded out of SABC. You want to hear their names? General Andre Lincoln, General Jeremy Vieri, General Peter Jacobs, General Theo, Brigadier Langweni. These were good policemen. There are no charges against them, but they were railroaded out of SAPS. But we've got 7 people with fraud, with nepotism, with corruption charges. They're standing before court as we speak, and they are still at work. And this General Nkwazi expects us to be okay with it. You know what the common thread is of the generals that were pushed out the door at SAPS? That same cabal that's before the court. Now you make that make sense. Make that make sense. Is the South African police services run by a handful of criminals? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Is this a fight of good against evil in SAPS? No. It's bad against worse. We need to find the good policemen. We need to bring them in. We need to let them manage this. And we need to let them keep us safe. These people are not good. How do you bring a 29-year-old woman from BMW with no police experience, with no credentials, with no qualifications and make her a brigadier general, and then tell a man who's worked for the South African Police Service for 30 years that he will stay a warrant officer because there's no money for promotions? How do you buy 200 million rands worth of computers and nobody knows where it is? And then you got organized crime having to work off their cell phones, fighting the most sophisticated criminal networks in the country off their cell phones, because 200 million rand was spent on laptops that were never delivered to them. Come on, man. And Nkwazi says this is an HR issue. Nkwazi must not think we are all fools. We understand that the NCC is a tiny party, that we have 2 seats, that the other 398 seats seem to agree with him. But we are ready for war on this issue.
Fadiel Adams, let me thank you for your contributions this morning. Leader of the National Coloured Congress. Okay, we'll probably have to unpack that clearly in our open line tomorrow, but let's bring in what we can with the little time we have remaining. Sipho, you're in East London. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Cathy, I'll come back tomorrow, but a quick one from me. The services are doing the COVID work. I'm going to go to properties. I'm going to come back to laptops. 1, the crimes that are sophisticated, that involve transnationals, are not discussed in shebeens or in the townships. They are discussed in exclusive boutique hotels. And for the state to insert or create a facility of that nature for itself, there is nothing wrong with that. But the unfortunate part, police and intelligence are not permitted by law to come out and answer that question of properties directly. 2, the computers. Again, municipalities, provincial governments, and SOEs are awash with corruption. And where can the information be sourced from? I'm not going to go into detail again, but see these computers in that light. Let's now come to General Mkhwanazi. In fact, let's not go to General Mkhwanazi. The police are not going to come back to us, Cathy, especially the intelligence services, and tell us the methods that they're using to fight armed gangs within the taxi industry. They are not going to come out in the public and tell us how are they attempting to flush out criminal gangs across the country. But the police are there. The last one for me is to say, people like Faisal, I'm not going to be personal to him, but to me, he comes across as somebody who is captured. I'm going to use capture, who is captured by another cabal. And that cabal is fighting for its life. The unfortunate part is there's a lot of Faisal in parliament, in banks, and in taxi industry. Those people are used by police ordinarily. And now Faisal is placed in the position of parliament. And fortunate for him, he's using that platform that now he's in parliament. He's somebody honorable he can be listened to. But I'm now, without attacking him, I'm now telling you the sensitive part of what is happening in the country.
Okay,
that all what is alleged, it's something that is permitted within the intelligence services without going into detail.
Okay, Sipho, in East London, we're going to have to leave it there. This takes me back to the Zondo Commission of Inquiry and the little work that it managed to do on State Security Agency. I wish it had gone further because, again, this question around what is reasonable in as far as resources, where the work of crime intelligence is concerned. What can be justified? What can't be justified? But it's also classified. It's time for your latest news.
In our top stories, 3 people shot dead on the Cape Flats and Gauteng online school registrations to start in less than a week. Good morning. 3 people have been shot dead and 2 others wounded in a shooting incident in Gugulethu on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Andre Trout says they responded to the incident in Muletsane Street in New Crossroads last night. The victims' bodies were found inside a bedroom. Trout says the motive for the attack is still under investigation.
Preliminary information indicates that 4 armed suspects opened fire at the victims before fleeing the scene with several cellular telephones and a firearm belonging to one of the victims. All 5 victims are believed to be in their 30s. The motive for the attack is still under investigation. Detectives are appealing to the public for any information that could assist in solving the case.
2 men are expected to appear at the Emalahleni Magistrates Court in Mpumalanga today for allegedly dealing in dagga. The 2 were arrested on Tuesday. They were found in possession of dagga worth about 1.8 million rand street value at the Middelburg Toll Plaza. Meanwhile, 2 Lesotho nationals were also arrested on the same day. They attempted to bribe the police to release suspects who were allegedly transporting dagga. They will also appear in the same court for bribery. Gauteng parents have 8 days to get their children's school documents in order as the online application process for grades 1 and 8 opens next Thursday. It closes on the 29th of August. The DA in the province says it hopes the department prepared sufficiently to avoid problems experienced in previous years. Gauteng DA Shadow MEC for Education, Sergio Issa dos Santos, says parents grappled with system glitches, insufficient support and limited internet access.
We have submitted written questions requesting clarity on the locations of the 81 decentralized walk-in centres, but to date we have not received any response from the department, nor have we seen any visible communication or advertising by the department to inform parents where these walk-in centres are located. This lack of transparency really undermines parents' ability to access much-needed support. As the Democratic Alliance, we believe it is critical for the department to address these concerns.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed the Tshwane University of Technology Vice-Chancellor Professor Tineko Maluleke and former South African politician Rolf Meyer as co-chairs of the upcoming National Dialogue. Maluleke and Meyer form part of the 31-member eminent persons group who've been selected to guide and champion the dialogue. The President has also appointed deputy chairs and a secretary to help lead and coordinate the group. Sibahle Mota reports.
Former MP Lindiwe Mazibuko and scientist and energy engineering expert and entrepreneur Siyabulela Xuza have been appointed as deputy chairs. Nompendulo Mkhatshwa, a former student activist who currently serves in the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, will serve as the secretary. The presidency says the chairpersons, deputy chairpersons and secretary will lead and coordinate the eminent persons group. Ramaphosa has since expressed his gratitude to them for contributing towards the effective functions of the group.
Further afield, US President Donald Trump says Coca-Cola will start using cane sugar in the recipe for its famous soft drink for the American market. The exact formula has been a closely guarded secret since 1886, but it's sweetened with high fructose corn sugar. Cane sugar contains slightly lower levels of fructose, but is often more expensive than corn syrup. President Trump called it a very good move. And today marks 75 years since the existence of the SABC News Service. As we look back, the then newscaster Koen Groenewald remembers the distrust at the time the public broadcaster decided to launch its own news sourcing department.
The head of the news at the time was I.M. van Schoor. I think he had quite a clever policy, He said that whatever we do, we leave out all comment from our news items. You just present the facts of the story as it is. No news item was to contain any comment.
Recapping the top story, 3 people have been shot dead and 2 others wounded in a shooting incident in Gugulethu on the Cape Flats. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
No challenge is bigger than a willing nation. There is undoubtedly a solution for every problem. Get in touch with Lifeline South Africa on a variety of critical matters that affect our nation, such as mental and emotional health, gender-based violence, HIV and AIDS, and HIV testing services. For assistance, contact Lifeline Trauma and Crisis Line on 0861 322 322. Stop Gender Violence free call or WhatsApp number 0800 150 150. AIDS helpline toll-free number is 0800 012 322 or WhatsApp on 084 922 8808. Lifeline South Africa, mental and emotional health for all. This is an SABC supported initiative.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 750ml Sunlight dishwashing liquid refill for $26.99 and save 11 Rand, or 400ml Vaseline lotion or cream for $49.99 and save 28 Rand. Plus, you could win your share of 6 million Rand in instant cash. Price is valid until 21 July 2025 while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
2022 WAFCON finalists, the Atlas Lionesses are breathing with extra confidence to get to this year's semi-final, while the female Eagles want to steal the moment of joy from the Moroccans. This is the quarter-final showdown of the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. Morocco takes on Mali this Friday, 18 July at 8:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 3 at 9 p.m. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. It's 10 after 10 o'clock. Welcome to the second hour of the show. Very shortly, we'll be getting into our Municipal Watch feature. Like I said, much of the reaction to that conversation we had with Fadiel Adams, Member of Parliament, leader of the National Coloured Congress. I think that's something that we'll have an opportunity to do properly in tomorrow's open line. So please make note of your contributions. Put them. I have, most phones these days, if you're using a smartphone, it comes with a notes app. So you can just note for the open line tomorrow. And perhaps you'll have even better reflections after a couple of hours. I'd really love us to unpack it because it does feel like there is a battle for the soul of the SAPS at this point. And all of this information is information that can help us make our own decisions, make our own minds up about what is at play. But I guess the inquiry now, even more important than ever. So we'll get into Municipal Watch shortly. We've received lots of your WhatsApp voice notes. A request from myself and the producers, please, can we avoid using vulgar language in the voice notes? Please don't swear, guys. Don't swear. You're making it very difficult for my producers and I. And some of you are apparently using incredibly obscene language. Please, let's not do that because it wastes everybody's time, because now we spend time working on something that we can't even put on air. So let's not do that. All right, let me play the WhatsApp voice notes and then we'll get into Municipal Watch.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Good morning, Cathy. The question that you have raised with that gentleman, to me, it really makes sense. He's not forthcoming, I don't know what his perspective in the whole rigmarole. I get absolutely no assistance from him, whether he's refuting what General Mkwanazi said or whatever, because it's not yet been tested. This is AJ. Thank you.
Good morning, Kate. This Faisal claims to have had things slipped under his office door. His office door were at Parliament. And why him? Why would somebody he doesn't know trust him with documentation that has such supposedly damning evidence? Like I'm saying, I'm taking what he's saying with a pinch of salt. He also is questionable in that why suddenly is he the one with this sensitive information that other people can't have?
Morning, Cathy. Fadiel Adams, and the plot thickens. They're going after the general, lieutenant general. As I knew it, they're going after the general because all of them, the whole cabal, ANC, MK, DA, you name them, they all corrupt.
Hi, Sis Kathy. I beg to differ with your is it your guest or the caller? Because I heard even yesterday on the commission, he mentioned the same thing of cabal, this cabal that. As the Commissioner Fanima Simula has said, General Mkhwana has had every right to hold or host a press briefing in his own province. I'll understand if he hosted the press briefing in a different province, but he has all the rights to host a press briefing. What context in the whatever he's going to give to the nation, it's up to him. So if the people in Gauteng were implicated, it is important for him to include it on the report. So I don't understand why this guy is so against Ndlanhla Mkhwana's Kwena.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
Champions need motivation above and beyond winning. South Africa, show your love and support for the WAFCON defending champions by Yana. Witness the Capital Total Energy's Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Coaches often speak of one game at a time, but when it's match day, the speech changes to one half at a time. This will be the case when Royal AM clashes with City Lads in the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. Royal AM Ladies versus City Lads, the Sunday 20 July, live on SABC 1 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM, in partnership with SABC CSI and the Butongo Rhino and Lion Nature Reserve, will be providing a game drive experience for the Orlando Children's Home for our Nelson Mandela Day initiative. Tune in to the Full Circle with Bertha Chiruma on the 18th of July 2025, 1 to 3 p.m. Coming to you live from the Butongo Rhino and Lion Nature Reserve as we commemorate Nelson Mandela Day. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
SABC News turns 75 on July the 17th, 2025.
Since the dawn of democracy, SABC News has grown into your trusted source for news and current affairs, shaping our nation and the world for the past 75 years.
From July 12th to the 17th, SAFM Current Affairs presents exclusive interviews with iconic presenters, producers, and news leaders.
We're exploring the legacy of SABC News, highlighting the voices that have defined our story.
Join SAFM for a week of compelling reports and unforgettable moments.
SABC News at 75.
Independent and impartial. Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Let's get straight into Municipal Watch. We're focusing on the Enoch Gijima local municipality. Residents of this area, Komani, formerly known as Queenstown in the Eastern Cape, are now heading to the Constitutional Court they want the court to assist them in their request for the Enoch Gijima local municipality to be dissolved. At the heart of it is what residents say is a lack of the municipality's ability to deliver on basic services, including electricity, waste collection, and others. Joining us for this conversation, Ken Clark is an independent councillor and owner of Crickley Dairy and Twiza. He's the one leading the action. Ken, good morning.
Good morning to your listeners.
And Ken, many South Africans, depending on where they are in the country, but I think most South Africans would probably have consumed some of your products. If not your dairy products, we always know that somewhere next to a Coke and a Fanta is going to be a Twiza.
How wonderful is that? Thank you, Cathy. That's really awesome.
Dr. Peter Prinsloo is chairperson of the Queenstown Ratepayers Association. Dr. Prinsloo, good morning.
Morning, Cathy.
Axolile Masiza is Secretary General of the Komani Protest Action. Axolile, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and the viewers and the listeners.
And Apiwe Mkangelwa is COO, that's Chief Operations Officer at the Enoch Gijima local municipality. Apiwe, good morning to you.
Morning, Susan, to the viewers at home.
Ken, you are the one that has been at the forefront of this court action. And if, of course, the Constitutional Court ends up ruling in your favor, it will make legal history in this country in as far as the interpretation of the Constitution in this regard is concerned. Tell us about where this issue stemmed from and how you made the decision to take it or to tackle it head on.
Yeah, Cathy, there's some noise in the background. Cathy, yes. We started with this some time back, and it goes back to 2017. In 2016, Enoch Gijima was formed by the amalgamation of a number of municipalities into the Lukanji municipality, and with that came quite a bit of baggage. And when we started with not load shedding, but Eskom cutting off municipalities for not paying account, the account at Enoch Gijima was 40 million rand. And, we then petitioned the government to say, listen, we paid our accounts, how can you cut us off, you got to sort the municipality out. And so that put the focus directly onto the municipality. Well, anyway, this continued, and at a time when I think the account was something around 180 million rand, businesses took the municipality to court, and the municipality settled out of court and had to pay the account, and that was late 2019, and provide us with proof that this was paid. Well, then came March 2020, and it was on the 9th of March 2020, we had a meeting with the MEC of Finance from Bishu and the MEC of Kokta, and I said to these gentlemen, we have a situation now where you have to pay a 25 million rand account for electricity. You've got roughly 25 million you're going to pay for salaries and wages, and you've got a bullet payment to Eskom for 30 million rand that needs to be paid. Please explain to me how this is going to happen. Well, there was no answer from that, and then COVID arrived. And then a 180 million rand problem became a 380 million rand problem. And long story short, after a number of interventions by administrators, and I think we've had a 3 or 4, I think with the NCR, they've got a second NCR now as well. It's probably number 5 that we're looking at people trying to get things right from the outside. We're now sitting at a bill for Eskom of 1.6 billion. And that bill is climbing at a rate of roughly 250 to 275 million rand per annum. When this council took over in 2021, 1st of November 2021, the bill was sitting at 701 million. So when Dr. Tom was appointed the NCR in, I think it was April 22, he came up with a report which was extremely well researched and really had the support of the entire business community and the citizens, saying exactly what needed to be done to fix the municipality. Well, as history shows, he was sidelined and ignored and pressured by the current council, and literally they went rogue at that point, even defying the Minister of Finance. And in March of 2023, we decided to launch court action. Obviously, our case was then finally heard last year, and the net result, to put it in layman's terms, the judge said we must leave government to sort out the municipality in its own time. Well, in this time, the residents of Queenstown have seen, at least if you're a homeowner of a 2 million rand house plus, you've lost between 500,000 and R1 million for every single homeowner in town because of the state of the municipality. We faced a situation a little while ago. We were without power for over 60 days. We've had water issues in the municipality. The streets are going to rack and ruin. There's overspending on stadiums and roads, and I mean ridiculous numbers. And that's not even included in this 1.6 billion that's gone backwards. Those overspends come from municipal infrastructure grants. So we've got a situation here which is akin to economic suicide of this in this town. It's gotten really so bad, and nobody takes responsibility for anything. Last year there was an overspend on electricity for the winter months of over 100 million rand because they couldn't exercise demand control. And now we sit daily with wondering what crisis faces us next. And I asked a question in council the other day. I said, this is a 1.6 billion rand problem you have with Eskom. What's going to happen if Eskom says tomorrow, no more electricity unless you pay for it? What are you going to do? How are you going to answer the people of this town? And at the end of the day, we're paying our bills. Who's that 1.6 billion going to be paid by? And Cathy, we've had to spend millions of rands fighting these cases, and that's why we've now gone to the Constitutional Court, because at the end of the day, the citizenry is being prejudiced, I believe, and the judicial system is not fighting for the citizenry. It is reneging in its duty to do what is right, to give the citizens of this town what we pay for.
Sure.
And it's not like we're not paying, although I must say we're only collecting 53% of the electricity that Eskom's charging us. And so this is mismanagement, it's overspending, it's you name it, it's part of the game.
Ken, taking on a matter like this, as you've mentioned, quite expensive to pursue it legally. I imagine millions spent already and probably more, depending on how much longer this matter goes on for. Are you doing it because of how you are affected as a resident, or does the fact that you're also a businessman who is running entities come into play here? And if it does, speak to me about how it is potentially threatening business operations, not only for you, you can speak for your perspective, but for the rest of the business community in that municipality.
So, Cathy, very, very good question. Look, at the end of the day, you can say I've probably got the most to lose if it all goes wrong. So that, can't be discounted as a motivation. But, it goes further than that. What is right and what's wrong is wrong. And if we're going to live in a constitutional democracy that is meaning for our children going forward, then we've got to understand, what is right and what is wrong, and we've got to fight for what is right, even if it costs us money. And I even stood for the council, to think, well, maybe I can bring change from within. Well, I have to say, Cathy, that I failed because just as the National Cabinet representative was sidelined, so one also becomes sidelined. You have a voice, but it's meaningless. This is clearly something that national government needs to act upon. And if you look at the Constitution, Section 139(7) is clear, where it says, is it 7 or 5? I'm not 100% sure now, but it says it uses the word must be dissolved. However, and I think it's Section 139(1), it talks about in exceptional circumstances, this or that. And it seems to be that the judiciary is looking at the exceptional circumstances in 139(1) and applying that to 139(5), where the word must is used. And you know, Cathy, I was in court when our advocates presented that case in front of the advocates of COCTA, the president, and the municipality. And I walked out from that courtroom and I said to the advocates and the lawyers that had put the case forward, I said to myself, I can't see how it is possible for any judge not to agree to dissolve this municipality. I honestly and truly felt that there was no shadow of doubt. And, you know, legal matters can be sometimes borderline. In this case, I was really, really happy that our team had done what they needed to do, yet look where we sit, having to fight another case.
Okay. Ken Clark, we're going to leave it there with you for now. When we come back, we'll hear from Axolile Masiza. He's with the Komani Protest Action. He's the Secretary General there. We'll hear from Dr. Peter Prinsloo, the chairperson of the Queenstown Ratepayers Association, and from Apiwe Mkangelwa. He will give a response on behalf of the municipality. It's 10:30, time for your latest headlines.
Thank you, Cathy. On the news headlines on SAFM, I'm Ondalambala, and a very good morning. The founder of the Institute for Security Studies, Dr. Jackie Celia, has dismissed claims that South Africa faces a potential coup risk. 3 people have been shot dead and 2 others wounded during a shooting in Gugulethu on the Cape Flats, and the DA has retained the hotly contested Ward 34 by-election in Nelson Mandela Bay in the Eastern Cape. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand currently trading at 17 rand 92 to the dollar, 23 rand 97 to the pound, and 20 rand 76 to the euro. Markets in Asia were mixed at the closing bell, the JSE mainly higher in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are mainly in the green. Gold is trading at $3,327, platinum $1,405 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $68.49 a barrel.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen. Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
He does so much to promote the sport of chess in the community, in the disadvantaged areas. Also heavily involved in so many different projects. Bongani Masibuko. So much to talk about chess. Chess is a sport that doesn't get featured very, very much on so many other platforms. So delighted that we can give you the opportunity to promote the sport. I want to talk about the recent SA Open, which unearthed so many exciting young players in the country.
Yeah, basically, there's a saying that if you can't see it, you can't hit it. So there must be a direction. So when you say open, just like the tennis open, in the chess as well, there's an open, which is the SA Open. So when you start the journey of chess, the direction must be that the biggest premium tournament becomes the SA Open.
Top Sport on SAFM. Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, let's continue then with the Enoch Gijima local municipality this morning. We've already heard from Ken Clark. He is the one that has been leading the court action, and he's the owner of Crickley Dairy and Twiza that is out in that particular municipality. Axolile, you represent the Komani Protest Action. Why is this something that you have supported, and where do you believe this municipality has failed you as residents the most?
I didn't hear the first part, Cathy.
Why have you as residents been part of this journey and supported it as it goes to the courts?
Cathy, there's only one thing that you cannot lose to see in this municipality is corruption, maladministration, nepotism, disregard of the law. The reason why Mr. Ken Clark are even going to the Constitutional Court is because the judiciary in the entire Eastern Cape is captured by politicians. It's serving the power of the politicians. As I'm speaking now, the residents of Newville, for example, have been taken to court by the municipality because they demanded accountability on what is happening in their ward. Now, we are sitting here with a mafia style of operation in Enoch Gijima. Buildings have been burnt down. There's not everything is destroyed in front of the politicians who claim to lead this community of Enoch Gijima. There's nothing that cannot save us now. It's only to take the power back from the politicians. We need to govern ourselves as residents, not political organizations, not politicians. We are sick and tired of what is happening, staging as if they are doing something here. I want to give the listeners one example. Right now, behind the Midday, there is a developmental space there for 3,000 houses. For a tender that was issued in 2010, those houses are not yet built. But what you see contractors who are given work by the government, who are taking the rubble there and drop it there. Now, we on the other hand, we think we've got leadership in the municipality, people who monitor what is happening here. But all these people are not doing anything for the residents of Komani, the residents of Enoch Gijima. So we're not going to free ourselves than taking back the power. Yeah. And this is what we are embarking on as residents of Enoch Gijima and beyond the borders in the entire Eastern Cape. Because politicians are rich. In front of us, they are driving, they are stealing in front of us. Now, there's only one thing before I drop. I won't say much, but is to say that we also told Mr. Sabisa, the minister, the current minister, when we embarked on in 2023 on a mass protest, a peaceful march that demanded the dissolution of the municipality, we thought Nkosazana Zuma would do her part, and she did her part. What they did, they demoted her and put former minister Nkadimeng to replace her. And she was there when Nkosazana Zuma visited Enoch Gijima to see what is happening and to listen from the residents what is their cry. And Mamgo Nkadimeng did nothing. After that, we thought the current minister, Sabisa, would do his part. But what he did, he supported the criminals in this municipality. He put more resources, more money into this municipality instead of dissolving the municipality. But our constitution is undermined here. Let alone that Mr. Ken Clark is going to the Constitutional Court. Why so? When we have a constitution that says when the municipality is in this chaos for a very long time, it must be dissolved. Many municipalities from other provinces have been dissolved, but not this one, the Enoch Gijima. It's not dissolved. We know why. They are politicians. They've captured this municipality because this is where they are digging money. And we as residents, we're not going to pay any rates now up until 2026. Now, what they are doing, every time when we try to put them in the spot and them to account, they take us to court. And the courts always favor the politicians.
Even
if we are doing something right.
The case that you said the municipality had brought against residents, just briefly explain what is happening in that matter?
Come again?
The case that you said the municipality had brought against residents, what is that case?
The case that I started with about the Newville residents, there's a construction there. And where the construction is sitting is a park that was also issued a tender before. And there was a park and something that was created for residents. And that park was destroyed. And this current contractor is sitting there. But when residents took it upon themselves to ask questions about the construction, about the irregularities in the project, there are two projects that are budgeted millions of rands happening in Newville area only. But when the residents demanded accountability in terms of employment, in terms of irregularities, what happened? This contractor was not introduced to them. But what the councillor did, instead of listening and standing with the residents, as she claims that she was elected by the residents, she stood with the politicians. And the MM together and the councillor took the residents to court. As I'm speaking, I'm one of the listed people because I stay in the ward, not as a politician, not as an activist.
But took the residents to court on what ground? Was it a protest where you were all arrested, or what happened?
The reason they took us to court is because they claim we are stalling the project. We are stalling the project, and we should stay away from the site where the contractor is sitting.
Okay,
as we speak.
Okay, all right. Okay, Axolile, you've made your point. Dr. Prinsloo, let me give you a chance to come in as the chairperson of the Ratepayers Association. Axolile says there will be no rates and taxes paid, at least until I think he said until 2026 or 2027, around there. The position of the Ratepayers Association and how you've been affected by these service delivery challenges?
Cathy, thanks. Yes. You see, I absolutely agree with Ken and Akori of what they have said. We have engaged with each other as well numerous times about this. But out of a ratepayer's point of view, the legislation for local government has been written so well that you are not allowed, but if you refuse to pay rates, you are going to be cut off whatever service you do get, even if it's erratic. It's illegal to do that. So if ever we would go for a legal action against the municipality, and we've advised by legal consultation with that, is that if ratepayers organize a let's say a rates boycott, what everybody asks for, it is illegal, and then you are found of transgressing the law, and then immediately in a court of law you are not going to have a stand. So we cannot. The ratepayers' hands are cut off. If you refuse, or if we as a ratepayers committee would organize a boycott of rates, and people start getting cut off, they will come to you to ask why, what is happening now. So I would rather want to look at a wider problem. You know, Enoch is now well known as having all these issues. We've had huge issues, and if I can just touch, for instance, on the condition of the roads, I mean, there are here and there are projects that are being done about roads, but then there's issues like what Akolili is saying, because of nepotism, because of corruption, and that function, or let's say the municipal grant system, is what, in my opinion, totally misused. We had in our top town area, we've got many roads that have got terrible problems and huge potholes. But there was a project that Mr. Clark as well went to court and tried to stop the project. Like a 640-meter road was redone last year, I think towards end of last year. But the cost of this was 9.2 million, and we believe that the contractor even got that 20% penalty fee because of rain that disrupted the work. It is just completely out of context, the cost of repairing roads. And it's all about who's standing there having to be paid to actually get the tender. It's become ridiculous. So no roads are being fixed. We were saying at that stage is if you use that 9.2 million and you spread it around other roads and you just do a resurfacing or just patch potholes, you could have gone much further than just doing one little road. But the system is broken, Cathy. That is my firm belief. Mr.
Sure.
Clark has spent in his personal capacity a lot of money with his legal action. And there he said as well that, legal action, even the judiciary, as Tolile said, is captured because the judge would then rule in favor of the local authorities. I believe that the system is totally broken. If you come back to the electricity supply, and how that works. And this is one of the finance people that work in the finance office said to me personally, off the record, and I cannot mention his name, but he said, any business who buys 30 million rands worth of electricity, just for an example, from Eskom, and sells it to users and only gets 15 or 16 million in, it's just not sustainable. And that's where that huge Eskom bill comes from. If in our private business, we run quite a bit of a business with a 100 kilowatts transformer. And, if you don't pay for a month, you are being reminded and then you will be cut off, Then, so if to cut, it was also yesterday in the national press, there was an article about Eskom, NERSA making mistakes about the fee structures, and an additional 40 billion will have to be collected from users, and I'm dreading that because the people that are actually paying are being looked at to pay more for the bill for those that don't pay.
Okay.
So, by saying we don't pay, and Mr. Clark mentioned that only 53%, so the whole business is failing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And by saying that, I'm not saying Enoch only. If you look wider, in the Free State, a lot of municipalities are almost worse off than what we are at the moment.
Okay.
We were in the last three, at some stage, 2-3 years back, the worst three. There was one up in Gauteng, and there was Bloemfontein, I know, and then there's us. And I think our people are trying. But a small example, when there was huge power issues in the top town area in November, December last year, where people were off for about 50 odd days, can you imagine? You throw away, it's summer, you throw away your contents of your fridge and your freezer. People lose a lot of money, and to quantify that is almost impossible. Because,
all right.
They had no power. But the problem is then, when they do this, now they fix the cables. There was some money got from somewhere, and the cables were replaced. But now the road infrastructure is still, being dug up, and it's never been fixed.
Sure.
So they would do something and then run away from it, and whether it's a finance thing or a I don't know.
So just a number of incomplete projects then that the municipality undertakes and doesn't complete.
Yeah,
Peter?
and by saying, I
Yeah.
need to say to you that, by saying the system fails, is that there must be another way of looking at these things. To go and say that National Treasury must bail us out all the time is not sustainable, because that puts more pressure on the national fiscus, and this it drives up the personal income tax that has to be paid. There must be ways found of delivering this service and making it work like a proper business. If my business don't, if it has got a negative income base like Eskom, it won't last 3 months, and I'll have to close the doors. And that's unfortunately the reality that we are facing.
Peter, thank you for that contribution. When we come back from this break, Apiwe, you'll have your turn.
Hi, my name is Andile Dlamini, goalkeeper of Mamelodi Sundowns and Banyana Banyana. If I received 10 million to stop being a goalkeeper and become a boxer, no, I don't think I would do it. Flying the flag high is something that I carry in my heart. What do I like about SABC Sport? It caters for all, rich and poor.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Hi, I'm Zycard. Catch me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Spotlight as we bring you blow-by-blow sporting action, news. That's Spotlight every Saturday. You don't want to miss it.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Well, we continue our focus on the Enoch Gijima local municipality. Yeah, from everything that we have heard so far, it clearly is quite a dire state of affairs. Apiwe Mkangelwa is the Chief Operations Officer in the municipality. Apiwe, none of this court action would be necessary if the municipality was doing its job and providing basic services consistently to the people of Enoch Gijima. Why are you not doing that?
Thank you, Keith, and morning to the viewers of SAFM. Let me first take this opportunity to appreciate being given this platform in terms of responding, in terms of the questions and some of the comments that have been raised around this issue of the dissolution of the municipality. Here in Enoch Gijima, I think it's important for me to raise it to the viewers that we have 6 towns. We have Hofmeyer, we have Whittlesea, we have Komani, we have Takastad, we have Montino, we have Stetson. And with the 6 towns that we have, the topic that we're at and the people that we're engaging with are business people and politicians from Komani, from the Komani town. And the reason why I'm giving you this background is because the municipality was formed in 2016, Enoch Gijima local municipality. It was a product of the amalgamation process that took place that combined 3 municipalities. When it combined these 3 municipalities, the biggest municipality on that combination, it was the Lukhanji municipality, which was around the Komani area. And there was a Section 79 notice to say everything is going to be standardized with the Komani municipality since it was the biggest, which is the former Lukhanji. Now, the problems were first felt greatly by the residents of Komani. That's we are here today. Because when the amalgamation process took place, these other municipalities that were combined with the Lukhanji, they had financial problems that included litigations, that included default judgments. So now, all these problems and the financial issues that these 2 entities, which is the former Tsolwana and former Nkwangwa, had, now they faced Enoch Gijima now as a whole because it's now a new municipality. And the unfortunate part, the board that was dealing with the issue of amalgamation, when you check on the paperwork, there were commitments and steps that they had to take to make sure that now, since you have combined these three entities, how do you then address the problems, the historic problems that they have, so that it becomes a new entity, which is Enoch Gijima, and can be able to then carry its function thereof? That has never happened. As a result, those default judgments that came through Enoch Gijima at that particular time, they then affected the operations of Enoch Gijima, because there were auctions that took place with these default judgments on the other entities and so forth. So that is why you have more complaints around the Komani area, because they were used to a Lukanje municipality that was operational. Yes, it did have its problems, but not greater problems that the new municipality, which is Enoch Gijima, then faced.
Apiwe, based on what some of the guests have said, part of the issue is not necessarily that there were problems which were inherited. It's that those problems continue to spiral. So the situation is not getting better, it's getting worse. And there's lack of confidence in the municipality to actually do something about it. And that would be your job, right? And that's part of the question that you then have to answer today. That why are things getting rapidly worse than what they were at the beginning?
Yeah. This background, if Cathy had listened it properly, you will understand that it also will have a bearing on this question that you're asking me. And in coming directly to this question, it was very important for me to give that background. Coming directly to this question you are raising, I will put it to you that, and the viewers at home, that the municipality is not, the situation of the municipality is not getting worse, it is actually improving. Now, from 2017, as we were under administration, up until now, we're still under administration. Now, we are monitored by National Treasury. We have been given 139 activities by National Treasury, which is the Financial Recovery Plan. Out of the 139 activities, 125 have been implemented, 14 they are in progress. When you speak on the revenue collection rate as of 30 June 2025, we're sitting at 63%. When you speak on the issues of budget, the final budget for 2025-2026 has been approved, and it has been sent for approval and verification in all the other stakeholders. We are sitting with a final budget of operational revenues of 1095 billion and capital expenditure of 12604 million. When you speak on the unauthorized expenditure, when you check the previous financial year, 2023-2024, you were seated with 381.6 million on the unauthorized expenditure. And when you would check, when you would come closer now, you would see that it has decreased to 12.14 million, 2024-2025, which is this financial year that we have just concluded. From 381 on unauthorized to 12.14.
So
I'm giving you the progress. I'm giving you the progress. Remember, you said things are getting worse.
And I note what you are saying, but at the same time, there's also the experience of what residents see and feel in the municipality. For example, if we go with what Akolile said about an area that was supposed to build, where residents were supposed to be built houses, or stands were supposed to be given to residents. And there's a tender from 2010 that either keeps being extended, revised, there are variances, but there's no progress on a project like that.
Yes.
There was the question of the stadium just last year, which you are well aware of, which made national headlines, which again showed the corruption that exists in some of the operations of the municipality?
Yeah, I love the first point that you had raised, that what is the situation now? One, the tender that we're talking about on houses, it's not our area of function. We don't build houses. I'm certain he's talking about the Provincial Department of Human Settlement. We are not in that area. We don't have such on our table. The issue that he also raised on us taking a certain area to court, we did not take citizens to court. We actually interdicted him. And when we interdicted him, we were requested by the very same citizens, because there was a dispute on laborers on the project of Dalia, where he wanted, as the lead of KPA, to be the one who appoints laborers. And the committee members were arguing that they want to do it as a committee of the community. That was the interdict about. I can send it to you. So there's no such. Even on the issue that he had raised, that many municipalities in the Eastern Cape have been dissolved. Not a single municipality in the Eastern Cape is dissolved. On the question that you are raising on the 2018 stadium, and the question of saying, what is it that we do to improve the situation? In as much as this council is a new council, it's not a 2018 council, and administration is not a 2018 council, you will see that the remedial actions, the recommendations that have been put, are there in place to make sure that the corrupt activities or projects that had happened in the previous years that have happened wrong are corrected. As a result, there's not a single project that is incomplete that is being done by this administration. There's not a single project that is done by this administration that has a red flag of corruption or reported in terms of corruption or being on investigation.
So in your view then, why do you think the municipality, why do you think Ken and some of the individuals from the municipality want to see this municipality dissolved?
That's a correct question and an interesting one. But remember, when you dissolve a municipality,
okay. Sorry, Apiwe, apologies. Sorry to do this to you. I'm going to ask you to hold that thought. We're going to continue with this conversation after the 11 o'clock news.
Thank you, Cathy. On the top stories, claims of a potential coup in South Africa dismissed, and 3 people shot dead in a shooting on the Cape Flats. For SAFM News, I am Ondalambana, and a very good morning. The founder of the Institute for Security Studies, Dr. Jackie Celia, has dismissed claims that South Africa faces a potential coup risk. This after Minister in the Presidency for State Security, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, on Tuesday revealed that the country's intelligence services had identified potential threats of a coup d'etat. Ntshavheni, however, assured the nation that the situation is under control, with ongoing monitoring and mitigation measures in place to protect the country. Celia has called the minister's remarks irresponsible and unfortunate.
This is not good for South Africa, for investor confidence, for a government that is trying to rebuild confidence in the country and to attract foreign investment. So I just think that she eventually probably regretted her statement, because I just think it seemed to be so out of kilter and so inappropriate. But it certainly, I think, was ill-advised. And I just can't think that there's any real chance or threat of something like that.
3 people have been shot dead and 2 others wounded during a shooting in Gugulethu on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Andre Trott says they responded to the incident in Mwaletsane Street in New Crossroads last night. He says the victims' bodies were found inside a bedroom. Trott says the 2 other people have been taken to a medical facility for treatment.
Preliminary information indicates that 4 armed suspects opened fire at the victims before fleeing the scene with several cellular telephones and a firearm belonging to one of the victims. All 5 victims are believed to be in their 30s. The motive for the attack is still under investigation. Detectives are appealing to the public for any information that could assist in solving the case.
The DA has retained the hotly contested Ward 34 by-election in Nelson Mandela Bay in the Eastern Cape. The DA retained the ward by 188 votes difference in a neck-and-neck race against the PA. The PA managed to grow its support from 2% to 42%, while DA dropped from 61% to 46%, but managed to retain the ward. Another party that lost support is the National Alliance, that dropped from 17% to 6%. The ward became vacant following the death of Councillor Johnny Arendz. Eastern Cape DA chairperson Yusuf Kasim says the victory shows voters are uniting behind the party.
The DA congratulates newly elected Ward Councillor Annalise Stanley on her victory. We are confident that she will represent the residents of Ward 34 with dedication and integrity. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our activists, volunteers, public representatives, campaign team staff, but most importantly, the voters who supported the DA in this crucial by-election. The DA will continue to fight for quality service delivery and good governance to be brought back to Nelson Mandela Bay.
Gauteng parents have 8 days to get their children's school documents in order as the online application process for grades 1 and 8 opens next Thursday and closes on the 29th of August. The DA in the province says it hopes the department prepared sufficiently to avoid problems experienced in previous years. Gauteng DA Shadow MEC for Education Sergio Issa dos Santos says parents grappled with system glitches, insufficient support and limited internet access.
We have submitted written questions requesting clarity on the locations of the 81 decentralized walk-in centers, but to date we have not received any response from the department, nor have we seen any visible communication or advertising by the department to inform parents where these walk-in centers are located. This lack of transparency really undermines parents' ability to access much-needed support. As the Democratic Alliance, we believe it is critical for the department to address these concerns.
The Finance Minister Enoch Gijima says the Compact for Africa, which was launched in 2017 under the chairmanship of South Africa, has grown into a dynamic initiative that has mobilized over $191 million in private capital. This initiative was initiated under the Germany G20 presidency to promote private investment in Africa. Gijima says the Compact for Africa presents opportunities for the continent to grow its economy.
While the continent is rich in opportunity, it continues to face significant challenges, ranging from infrastructure deficit and climate vulnerability to constrained fiscal space and limited access to long-term private capital. In this context, the Compact with Africa initiative remains a promising platform for fostering reform-driven investment partnership between African countries and the private sector.
And SABC News is celebrating 75 years of existence. Back then, Radio RSA presenters could swap roles from news reading to show anchoring.
And there's our signature tune to tell me it's time to cross over in just 1 minute from now to the news studio for the news in brief at 4 hours 23 Greenwich Mean Time to end this particular transmission to East and Central Africa and the Middle East. That's all from me, David Hall-Green. Hope you've enjoyed the show, that you'll tune in at the same time tomorrow morning. That's at 3 hours Greenwich Mean Time, when once again we'll be in the 60, 75 and 90-metre bands. And Robert Cheetham and I will be back tomorrow morning in reversed roles. I'll be in the news studio, and so he'll be in this particular hot seat bringing you music and items of interest.
Recapping our top story, the founder of the Institute for Security Studies, Dr. Jackie Salia, has dismissed claims that South Africa faces a potential coup risk. I'm Mondela Mbana for SAFM News Headlines at 11:30.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk. Join us for this year's fundraiser, Jazz for Young People concert at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July. This unique event, perfect for families, is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity and community spirit. So bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring the Parktown Girls Band, Tshwane School of Music, The Real DJ Zandi, Kutlotaro Jazz Band and many others. Tickets are just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12 via Quicket. Jazz for Young People is proudly brought to you by Standard Bank Joy of Jazz.
This July, journey beyond the horizon with Chasing the Sun. 5 mesmerizing episodes every Sunday at 7:30 on SABC2 from 13 July to 10 August. Feel the thrill of the adventure, the power of discovery, and stories that light up the skies. Missed an episode? No worries. Stream anytime, anywhere on SABC Plus. No subscription required. Chasing the Sun. Your Sunday nights just got brighter. Tune in to SABC2, Sundays at 7:30 or watch on SABC Plus on demand.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
It's 9 after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the final hour of the show. We've just extended Municipal Watch for a short while to give us a chance to wrap up then the spotlight that we've cast on the Enoch Gijima local municipality. Later on in this half hour, we'll get into the action that is being taken against medical schemes in South Africa. This is particularly on some of those allegations of racial bias, in particular against black healthcare practitioners. So we are still going to be having that conversation. On the line, we are joined by Ken Clark, independent councillor and owner of Crickley Dairy and Twiza within the Enoch Gijima local municipality. Dr. Peter Prinsloo is the chairperson of the Queenstown Ratepayers Association. Axolile Masiza is the Secretary General of the Komani Protest Action, and Apiwe Mkangelwa is Chief Operations Officer at the Enoch Gijima local municipality. Apiwe, before we went to news, I asked you an important question, and you make an argument that service delivery in the municipality is improving. And I asked, if that were the case, then how do you explain the fact that you have residents taking you to the highest court, the Constitutional Court, fighting for the dissolution of the municipality due to these issues around service delivery?
Yes, that's the question I think you left me with to respond on. Why do I think Mr. Clark is taking this direction? And I would love to respond to him. My response will be twofolded. I'll respond to him as a businessman, and I'll respond to him as a politician. When you take a municipality to a dissolution, after 90 days, an expectation is that you are going to come and rerun elections. Him as a politician gets another opportunity in terms of running and canvassing as it relates to getting more seats, because all the independents that contest within Enoch Gijima municipality, Mr. Clark has his logo of independence, where then he then supports those candidates in terms of running. So at a political interest level, that's going to be the game, if I would answer in that fashion. Then the second part, as a businessman, I would not understand as a businessman on why you would then persist as it relates to taking this route, because even the local government elections are close by. And him as a businessman, we work with him. We have a committee of business chamber as part of it. We plan with them on most of other things that talks to the electricity infrastructure, particularly in Command, because the issue is there in Command. The people that you have introduced that were here with in studio are in Command. So we meet with Mr. Clark, we have virtual meetings, we even go and advise each other on many other components. So I would not understand on why the route for a dissolution. And on the question of improvement, the last protest that was organized by TPA that was here, it was January 2023. We have no protest now here in town. We address things. People, when they have petitions on their issues, they bring them, they address, and we respond to the citizens of Enoch Gijima.
Okay.
Adequately.
So basically, you believe that this court action is not about the performance of the municipality, which on record, even by the Auditor General's standards, is rated as being amongst the worst performing municipalities in the country overall. You don't see that as part of the reason for why they're taking you to court?
No, that cannot be true. When we speak on the auditor report, the municipality had 11 findings. Out of 11 findings, we dealt with most of them, and we are only left with 3. And those 3, we are confident we are going to be presenting on Auditor General next week. We are confident even on those, because it's leave provisions, it's the issues of assets, it's the issue of cash flow, and we are confident with the audit action plan that we're implementing and our constant engagements with Auditor General that we're going to overcome even these 3 other findings. So the assertion that says audit, we are the worst performing, Auditor General's report says we are the worst performing, cannot be true.
Historically, it has been true, though. It has been true.
Yeah, but remember, you said we are talking about now. What's the situation now? And I'm not going to be talking about what was happening in 2018 when it was a different administration and other things. I'm bringing it to you now that the municipality is improving.
Yes, that's
and
fine.
Evidence is there. It's tangible. It can be sent to you, to anyone. You can go to our site. You will see.
Okay,
tangible evidence.
That's fine. I need to give the others an opportunity to come in because we've gone over for this conversation. Ken, a quick response from you on what Apiwe has said.
Cathy, to say that you've got 11 findings in your audit report when you're losing 270 million rand a year and you don't have a balanced budget, how does that work? At the end of the day, the task of a council is very similar to that of a board of directors of a company. And really what the municipality's job is to allocate capital in the most productive way. And if you look at what I said earlier and you look at what is happening there currently, capital is not being allocated properly. Our streets are going to wreck and ruin. We're going backwards by 270 million rand per year. We don't have a balanced budget. We're not collecting our revenue from electricity. I had to go to the municipality and insist that my meter gets changed because it hadn't been read for more than 2 years. Now, if that's happening to me, which is quite a big user in my private home, what is happening elsewhere? The situation is dire. And we come up and make these ridiculous statements about things are improving. Really, show me your balanced budget. Show me money in your bank account. Have you paid your SARS levies? Have you paid your workman's compensation? Because apparently the government is now going to withhold equitable share because those sums haven't been paid. So, if we're going to have an honest conversation here, let's talk about the facts. Let's not talk fiction here, and talk in abstract terms about nonsense. We need to say categorically, I've got a balanced budget. If I'm collecting 30 million or 90 million rand from ratepayers, this is what I'm spending on roads.
All right, Ken.
We don't see a single cent of what we pay in rates and taxes as a service to our communities. Not 1 cent. Well, maybe that's not entirely true. We had a road of 640 meters redone recently at a cost of 9.2 million rand, Cathy. Just do the sums. 9.2 million rand for 640 meters. Is that how we allocate capital?
Okay,
Ken. Is that responsible? No, it can't be.
Yeah, one, on the issue of equitable share, I'm certain maybe Councillor Clark has not received the information yet, but he should be because he's part of the council. National Treasury, but there is a council meeting tomorrow, so I'm sure you'll get an update. National Treasury has resolved the issue of SALA. It was a misunderstanding that we owe SALA the pension fund money. We don't owe SALA any funds, and as a result, National Treasury has resolved the issue. The equitable share will be within our bank account. The issue of budget that he has raised, remember, that's why I said it's quite a tricky situation, because when you speak of budget, the budget is handled by them or Councillor Clark. It's a council business, the budget. We implement budget. We go through all the stages on budget, and it's a process that is under or Councillor Clark is also part of that financial committee, in fact, on the standing committee. So, to say the least, that on issues of our budget, these are the things that he would be raising and so forth. We know the processes of local government. We know the steps that take place in terms of the approval of a budget, and there's no budget that can be approved by National Treasury, by the Provincial Treasury.
Okay.
All these areas that Councillor Clark is raising.
Okay. Peter, I've got 45 seconds for you. Do you have a specific question for Apiwe?
My elephant in the room is still the whole electricity issue. How can you buy so much electricity from Eskom and then only get half of that income in? You know, that's not sustainable. And Apiwe is not saying exactly what is going to be done about the electricity supply. We as ratepayers have approached NERSA to go into this, and eventually in December we got a reply to say that there will be an audit. But we think that we as ratepayers want to work directly with Eskom. We want to pay for services rented. We'll pay upfront as well. But our money is being used to bankroll the salary bill of the municipality, and it's wrong. It shouldn't be like that. If people need to be fired, if it needs to be neatened up, and that's part of the National Treasury report that Apiwe did not mention, is that there's an overpayment of salaries at this. This is where the money is going.
Apiwe, briefly, please.
Yes, on the infrastructure that is raising, it was Dr. Prinsloo, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. On the infrastructure that is raising, it is very correct that when we speak on the electricity infrastructure, we have an aging infrastructure. The estimation in terms of the cost that had been made is sitting at 549 on the amount that would be needed to attend to the entire system of the electricity infrastructure. But applications have already been made and approvals have already been received. We have received approval. They are part of the committee, or Dr. Prinsloo, no, Mr. Clark. We have received approval on the Office of the Premier to assist us with the network issue, the infrastructure, the electricity infrastructure issue. We have received funding from DMRE for this particular financial year. Work is in progress so that we deal with these areas of need. We'll take it into phases since it's a huge amount that is needed to address the entire electricity infrastructure. So the losses that we are sitting with, the reality is that, or the last part, National Treasury has approved our application for smart meters, 47 million project. It's already underway. Now, because the issue that we have is on collection, you have some associations within Komani that would go and demotivate people from paying electricity. They would tamper with electricity infrastructure. As a result, it then affects the collection. So that's our greatest problem that we are dealing with.
Okay.
That's why we're sitting at that 63. So now what we are doing, we are rolling out with the program associated smart meters so that we deal with the issues of tampering.
Okay.
We deal with people who choose not to pay the electricity rates so that we can improve as it relates to that area. And
Apiwe, we are completely out of time. I've got to end it here. I asked you to keep your answers short, and you're not helping me either. So we're going to have to leave it here. That's how we leave it with the Enoch Gijima local municipality for today. I think you've heard enough in terms of what is happening in that municipality. Let's take a quick break and then we're back with our 11 o'clock conversation.
They all believe they will be crowned champions, but gold medallions are reserved for the best of them all. It is the incredible clash of the 12 African women's national teams. Catch all the 24 matches of the Cap Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game. Hey, halala, halala, halala. Hey, halala, South Africa. Hey, halala, halala, halala.
Hi, my name is Andile Dlamini, goalkeeper of Mamelodi Sundowns and Banyana Banyana. If I received 10 million to stop being a goalkeeper and become a boxer, no, I don't think I would do it. Flying the flag high is something that I carry in my heart. What do I like about SABC Sport? It caters for all, rich and poor.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. Coaches often speak of one game at a time, but when it's match day, the speech changes to one half at a time. This will be the case when Royal AM clashes with City Lads in the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. Royal AM Ladies versus City Lads, the Sunday 20 July, live on SABC 1 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
All right, let's get then into our final conversation for this morning. Let me invite our guests on air and apologize to them for starting this conversation later than what we had scheduled. We're going to be looking at the criminal complaint filed by Action SA. This is against medical aid schemes, accusing them of showing racial bias against black healthcare practitioners. This is between the period of 2012 to 2019. And the complaint is based on the Section 59 investigation panel report. That report was released last week. It concluded that there was procedural fairness rights of some doctors which have been violated. Dr. Katlego Mutudi is Managing Director for the Board of Healthcare Funders. Dr. Mutudi, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cathy. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. And Dr. Khosi Letlape is a Member of Parliament for Action SA. Dr. Letlape, good morning.
Good morning to you, and good morning to the guests and to the listeners.
The Section 59 report basically confirmed what many in the industry had been saying, at least those that are black practitioners who have cried foul over the medical aids and racial bias. Speak to us about your complaint and what you want to get out of it.
Well, my complaint is based on two issues. As a black practitioner myself, we've been aggrieved by how we've been treated by medical aid. But in terms of what has come out of the report, clearly, it shows that the algorithms have racial bias. But the main issue is that in my period in the Health Professions Council from 2010 to 2021, we've seen behavior of the administrators where they come to a practitioner and say, we've been profiling you for 3 years in terms of our profiling, either fraud, waste, or abuse, or a combination of the three. You owe us X. If you don't pay us X, we take you to the Health Professions Council. Now, that is extortion. And what we'd expected from them and what we try to communicate to them is that if there's fraud, report them to the police, bring them to us, because we've got to work together to get rid of unscrupulous practitioners. But not the fact that they should be intimidated. They should be given ultimatums. They should not be given due process. If it takes you 3 years, why would someone have 2 weeks to answer things that you needed experts for and you've accumulated over 3 years? Those actions are unfair. that's intimidation, and that's extortion. And those are the basis for the charges.
Dr. Mutudi, this, of course, is about how medical practitioners are able to do their jobs, number one. But if it is also then embedded in the algorithm, it means that even before a doctor can commit fraud or be found of any misconduct, they are assumed to be conducting that misconduct.
That is not our interpretation, Cathy, and I'm happy that we indicating that the report talks about racial bias, not intentional discrimination. Throughout the process, I think the named entities were at pains to try and impress upon the panel that there are possible explanations why there is bias. Some schemes spoke about their demographic profile, in that they serve largely black populations and they would invariably seek help from black practitioners. So from that point of view, already the sampling would be skewed towards black practitioners. So there's no dispute about the bias. I think the issue is around whether it's intentional. Secondly, the issue of the algorithms. There's no racial data that is captured, whether you're talking about the racial profile of the practitioner, and there's also limited demographic data. What the algorithms mainly focus on, firstly, the identification is through a practice number, and then they look at billing practices. There is extensive coding that is deployed in South Africa, whether you're talking about ICD-10 for the diagnostic codes and also the procedure codes for the various treatment modalities. It is through identification of what they would term outliers when they compare the practitioner either to their peers in the discipline or those who practice in the same area, or if there is a departure from the financial profile of the particular disease that they are treating. And that would then trigger the investigation. The panel did indicate that while they suspect that there is some issue with the algorithm, there's also potentially challenges with the desktop investigations that are conducted, and I think that was captured in the process.
Dr. Mutudi, I'm going to ask you to pause that thought. It's 11:30. Here are your latest headlines.
Thank you, Cathy. On the news headlines, the NPA has filed a notice of appeal at the Randburg Magistrates Court earlier today. The NPA says it will apply directly to the High Court for leave to appeal of the decision to grant bail to 12 SANDF soldiers accused of killing Hawk Specialist Investigator Lieutenant Colonel Franz Matipa. The founder of the Institute for Security Studies, Dr. Jackie Salia, has dismissed claims that South Africa faces a potential coup risk, and doctors in Britain have announced that 8 babies have been born using a pioneering 3-person IVF technique to prevent them from being born with devastating mitochondrial disease. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
We continue the conversation on the Talking Point, and we're reflecting then on some of the challenges that medical schemes are being accused of, or the challenges emanating from medical schemes around racial bias. Dr. Kgosi Letlape is a Member of Parliament for Action SA. And he's the one that is now bringing a criminal complaint against medical aid schemes. Dr. Cathy Mohlahlana is Managing Director for the Board of Healthcare Funders, and he then is speaking on behalf of the administrators, which Dr. Letlape has pointed to as being part of the problem in terms of how they do their analysis with medical practitioners, in as far as some of the issues that medical aids may pick up. Dr. Mutudi, I'm going to come back to you and give you an opportunity to explain here. When it comes to the investigations that are done to ensure that what a medical practitioner is saying and claiming for is in fact what is happening in the practice, has that always been a desktop exercise? Are there instances where they go out to site to verify, to confirm? Because you are highlighting it as one of the key contributors potentially to this bias issue.
Yeah, when the algorithm has spread out the results, there is an assessment from the forensic investigators whether it's sufficient evidence to either rule it out as an error, potential fraud, or needing additional investigations. There are certain practices that would then require further investigations, and this is when forensic companies are often contracted to actually go visit the practitioner. In some instances, the practitioner is contacted for an interview or asked for additional information. So it would actually depend on what has been found through the initial stages.
Dr. Letlape, your experience of these investigations, because ultimately this is what leads to the result of those is what leads to how practitioners ultimately become profiled.
Now, there are a few things. Their experts came with the fact that they are doing it without bias. But he used a methodology that is accepted internationally, that even their own experts admitted. That if you are testing a system for whether it has racial bias and you don't have demographic information, you can use surnames to do that. It's a well-recognized method, and that's what he used. Now, what they need to explain is that if this thing is blind, why would a blind system find a black anesthetist to be 6.5 times more likely to be picked up by the system? That is a 650% variance. It's not a variance of chance. But the other issue, Cathy, that people need to realize is that when you say you don't want to pay, they will report you to the Health Professions Council. If you agree to pay them, they keep you on and they pay you directly. And one of the things, when they report you to the Health Professions Council, is they will cease to pay you directly. Most of our practitioners, with the population that they serve that have medical aid, they don't want to pay a cent to the doctor, and they will not pay and claim back. So practitioners, we as black practitioners, are dependent on direct payments. And that's what they use to blackmail. You know, whether you're saying they are wrongdoers, it's the same as you speed, and there's no racial bias, it's a camera, and you've went over the speed limit, and the cop stops you and says, if this, if that, I won't give you a ticket if you put money into my pocket. If you don't put money into my pocket, I'm giving you a ticket and I'm reporting you to the traffic department. That's what I'm also fighting. That's the basis of the criminal charges. So just understand that there are two components: the system itself and the methodology of dealing with practitioners. And it is the methodology that I find criminal. That is the part of the extortion. That's the part of blackmail. When they say, now, what we were saying in the Health Professions Council was lay a charge of fraud with the police, report them here, provide the evidence, let them be convicted, and we'll remove them from the register. Because we will not protect fraudsters. But the system that they have, that they have an allegation of fraud to you, if you agree to pay them back, not only will they pay you directly, you can continue practicing. That is unacceptable. That is unprofessional. That is racketeering. And those are the issues that we are criminalizing. The issue of the methodology, they are challenging further, and that will sort itself out. And so they have to explain whether we as black practitioners have a propensity to criminality and fraud. Because that's basically what their algorithm is saying.
Dr. Mutudi?
Yeah, I think a few things. I want to first start with the last point, that there is some sort of targeting. I think we agree about the bias, and that can be looked at, and I think Dr. Club is saying that the methodology can be refined to just make sure that everybody's on the right side. Now, when it comes to how the schemes recoup the money, Section 59, 2 and 3 of the Medical Schemes Act does allow for the two things that he talks about, direct and indirect payment. That is provided for in the Act. Secondly, the issue of clawbacks is also provided for. If the scheme is convinced that either something was paid in error or through fraudulent means, they have a right to clawback. And this is not limited to medical schemes environment. We've seen
what alternative do you have?
Repossessing.
Can I check in this?
Hello?
Yes, apologies for that, Dr. Mutudi.
Yeah.
You can continue.
Yeah, so we have seen the SIU repossessing gains from fraudulent means. We've got the asset forfeiture. So it's not foreign to schemes. Maybe what should be interrogated, and I'm happy that the panel has made pronouncements on the processes, that firstly, there is an imbalance of power. And I imagine it happens everywhere. Even if you are arrested by the police, you are taken in for interrogation, there's an imbalance of power. It would happen if you are called in by a scheme. But the suggestion that maybe it should be done through mediation, that's something that could be considered. But I don't want us to look at this as if it is something that schemes have come up without any authorization. The Act does provide for that. Secondly, also, Section 66 of the Act does empower the schemes to investigate and to also reclaim anything that it thinks has been taken without due cause. So I understand the frustration, especially when it comes to issues of potential interference of how people practice. But schemes have got a responsibility to guard members' monies. We can argue about how to do that, but it can't be called or labeled extortion when schemes have to guard the billions of rands that they lose every year that are lost to fraud every year.
And the point that Dr. Letlap is raising about why not take action against these individuals rather than make the entire system or make everybody else who's yet to commit an offense pay a premium effectively through the way in which the algorithm then becomes a mechanism of filtering through doctors and deciding that this one has a higher risk than somebody else.
And that's the argument, Cathy, in terms of methodology. Claims are adjudicated on an individual basis. If I see a patient and I submit a claim, that goes through an algorithm that looks at whether it's appropriate for gender, for age, and for the treatment that I have prescribed. If it is found to be correct, the claim is paid, and the majority of claims are actually handled that way. The issue that is being raised here about the targeting, we don't agree with it. We believe that maybe there is a certain refinement that needs to be done, but there's no deliberate targeting. And I think the report does say that they did not find any intention, and they didn't even proceed to find guilt, and I think they quoted Section 9 of the Constitution against this premise. So this is purely a statistical finding that is being interpreted as racially motivated.
Okay, I'm going to bring in some of the contributions of our listeners. I want to start with the WhatsApp voice notes, and then I'm going to try and squeeze in at least one caller before we get final responses.
Hi, Cathy. This is Mike Connors from Johannesburg. I'm actually agreeing with Dr. Klape what he's saying. I mean, I'm the user of one of the biggest medical aids, which is being accused here. And I've used it in several cases, and whereby is a black professional, particularly in the hospital where Dr. Klape was working. They used to say to me, I must pay cash and claim from the medical aid because medical aid was refusing to pay them. But you go to predominantly white doctors, hospitals, the medical aid is allowing me to actually be seen and be, I mean, they would actually pay directly. They'll pay the doctor directly themselves. And I don't need to pay cash in order for the medical aid to be, I mean, for me to claim from the medical aid. And that's very true, what Dr. Klape is saying.
Hi, Cathy and our panel, Anonymous here. Even for government employees who are practicing outside, their own private practices outside, BHF always target black practitioners. White practitioners, Indian practitioners are having a time of their lives. They don't even have to fill in those RWEBS forms. But blacks are always audited. Most of the colleagues in the government sector have lost their practices because of BHF. And then when they lose their practices, their supervisors don't want to sign for them. Now you are stuck in the government. You can't do anything outside. Anonymous here.
We've got another anonymous on the line in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Anonymous, we're pressed for time. If you
Okay,
can
no
keep it
problem.
brief.
I'll make it. I'll keep it very brief. So I agree with both of those voice notes that have come through. With regards to also medical aids, it's a money-making scheme. They change formularies all the time. Patients that are on single combination drugs or multiple combination drugs now to take, they can't do adherence properly, and the medical aid will just change that like at whim once a year. And also with regards to like the ICD payments, I agree with your first voice notes caller that depends which doctor you go to. You either pay cash up front and they won't pay back for a certain person. That's pretty much like the 2 points I can literally put right there. They only are looking after themselves and their bottom line and not after either the practitioners or the patients.
Thank you, Anonymous. Dr. Mutudi?
Yeah, I think what the callers indicate, there's a poor understanding of how medical aids work. And this is displayed by both the users, meaning the patients, as well as the practitioners. And I think there is a need for maybe better collaboration from both the funders and the practitioner side so that we clear up many of these things. What I didn't say earlier is that while we talk about fraud, it's actually a small component of the claims that come through. We estimate about 5 to 15% at the most. There are, however, a lot of billing errors, and those are usually cleared up. But the majority of practitioners, they go through their lives without being profiled, without having any query, and having their patients come through. Some of the other issues that were brought up by people come to issues of tariffs, which are beyond the scope of schemes because they should be determined by government. We don't have a tariff as yet since 2008, and each scheme has to figure it out on its own.
Dr. Leklape, Dr. Mutudi says there's nothing intentional about this bias. It's something that perhaps can be looked at systemically and reviewed. Are you convinced by that argument? I imagine you might not be, which is why you're going to court.
Yes, I'm not convinced. That's why we're going to court, and those issues will be adjudicated there. You must remember that the terms of reference of the advocate and the group that looked at this did not include them being able to say there's racism here. So they've done their job. So this next process is to adjudicate on those issues. So there will be other avenues where this matter will be addressed. they'll have an opportunity to explain their issues at the Equality Court. And those practitioners that are aggrieved, we will assist them to claw back the monies that were unlawfully taken from them. And remember, the method, when you have a giant that does not come to you as a provider and give you the benefit of the doubt and they say, we need to do an investigation, here's our issues, give us answers. They come having already calculated. But they've already concluded. So we want adjudication on the issues of those process.
Okay.
You know, I mean the point is this, that they will have an opportunity to explain themselves. Okay. And remember, there was a report in 2021, the first report. This is a final report. They made representations to experts, and the issue of the methodology having a bias, a racial bias, has been concluded, or that is the conclusion of the report. And they have a right to go and query that and explain themselves. Now, one of the issues that he raised
Dr.
is that
Lekape,
we
I'm
don't,
going to
we
ask
don't
you to
understand.
wrap up.
Okay. Currently, the medical schemes and the benefits issues are too complex. Even doctors don't understand them. Patients don't understand them. And we need to get back to the health market inquiry that will make these issues. It needs to be simple. You need to know what you covered for. The doctor needs to know what's going to be paid. And it needs to be simplified.
Thank you both for coming on to the show. Dr. Khosile Klape, Dr. Katlego Motudi. It'll continue to be a fascinating case to keep a close eye on. We're completely out of time. Goodbye. I'll be back with you again tomorrow.
SFM's award-winning drama department presents another episode of the book, A Testament of Hope, the autobiography of Dr. Sam Motswenyane. Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised.
At the conference in Umtata, a resolution was passed at the request of the newly constituted Qwaqwa Regional Chamber of Commerce to hold the next and 11th conference at Putadichaba. Furthermore, it was decided that a special fundraising conference for the bank would also be held in Welkom before the end of 1974. This special conference was to mark the culmination of a 10-year campaign for the establishment of a black-controlled bank by members of NAFCOC. The special fundraising conference for the bank did indeed take place in Welkom in 1974 and was perhaps one of the most successful and exciting conferences to be held by NAFCOC during the long campaigning period. On that day, a record amount of over 74,000 rand was raised on a single day from all NAFCOC regions towards the purchase of shares in the proposed bank. It was at this special conference that the names of the first directors of the bank were proposed and confirmed. The name of the new bank was also agreed upon on that occasion as the African Bank of South Africa Limited. The names of the first directors elected during the special conference in Welkom were Mr. Sam Motswenyane, Chairman, Mr. S.J.J. Lisolang, Mr. P.G. Gumede, Reverend E.Z. Kakani, Mr. A.N. Gadi, Mr. P.S. Munwa, Mr. R.R. Mbongwe, Mr. A.M. Kumalo, Reverend I.L. Shembe, and Mr. W.S. Tladi from the University of the North in Petersburg. After the special fundraising conference, the long-serving treasurer of NAFCOC, Mr. S.J.J. Lisolang, was compelled to personally carry the substantial amount of cash collected to the bank in Pretoria. As a result, he was not able to accompany the other members of the executive to the scheduled meeting with the homeland leader of the Ciskei, Mr. Enoch Gijima, in King Williamstown. Mr. Lisolang, who served as the national treasurer of NAFCOC from 1964 until 1979, was a man of considerable integrity and dependability. During his long service as treasurer, and particularly at the time when the organization had to raise 1 million rand in small amounts from thousands of people around the country, not a single cent was ever lost, either by NAFCOC or by the thousands of people whose funds he had to look after. Prior to the 11th NAFCOC conference in Putadichaba, I had the opportunity to visit the United States of America to meet with various black business leaders from whose rich banking experience we intended to draw some lessons. As one who had lived and studied in America, I was aware that there were certain business organizations in existence in that country which had faced similar racial problems to the ones we were confronted with in South Africa. My main objective in meeting black business leaders in America was not only to cultivate good working relationships with them, but also to invite some to come over and address our conferences in South Africa. In the state of North Carolina, where many large black businesses are based, I visited North Carolina Mutual, then rated as the largest black insurance company in the United States, and the Farmers and Mechanics Bank. Both institutions were situated in Durham. I had a meeting with Mr. A.S.A. Spalding, president of North Carolina Mutual, who was quite keen to visit South Africa. I also met with Dr. John Wheeler, the president of the Farmers and Mechanics Bank, who had previously visited South Africa. In Washington, I met the president of the National Negro Business League, Mr. Beckley Barrell. The National Negro Business League is a black business organization like NAFCOC, which was founded by the Negro educationist Dr. Booker T. Washington in 1904. During my meeting with Mr. Barrell, I stressed the need for our two organizations to work more closely together, a proposal to which Mr. Barrell responded somehow coldly. Still in Washington, I visited the office of the National Bankers Association, NBA, an association of black financial institutions in the USA. There I met with Dr. Edward Irons, the president of the association, whom I invited to attend and address the 11th NAFCOC annual conference at Putadichaba. We asked him to share with us the black American experience in the banking sector. Dr. Irons agreed to visit South Africa and to participate as a keynote speaker at the conference in Putadichaba. The 11th NAFCOC annual conference was held in midwinter in a large community hall with no heating systems. It is remembered as the coldest in the history of the organization. Delegates at the conference sat shivering and huddled together on wooden benches, but giving as much attention as they could muster to all the speakers. Dr. Irons was immensely impressed by the high spirit of unity and commitment among NAFCOC members to ensure the accomplishment of the African Bank project. The conference benefited much from Dr. Irons' presentation on the role played by black banks in the development of black business in the United States. At the end of the conference, the Leboa Regional Chamber of Commerce proposed that the next and 12th annual conference in 1976 be held in their region. This proposal was unanimously accepted by the delegates, and in June 1976, the 12th annual conference of NAFCOC was held at the Tafelop campus of the University of the North. The conference took place during the winter vacation so that the delegates could make use of the students' residences. A mood of exceeding joy and celebration characterized by the conference because it was held not only after the birth of the African Bank, undoubtedly one of NAFCOC's greatest achievements. I sadly missed this conference due to my mother's death. This occurred as my wife and I were packing our bags to leave for the conference. All that I was able to do under the circumstances was to attend an executive meeting prior to the conference and to ask the Deputy President, Mr. P.G. Gumede, to preside at the conference and to also present my presidential address. The great sense of achievement which prevailed after the registration and opening of the African Bank in 1975 inspired and emboldened NAFCOC members to initiate and embark upon other projects. These were projects that were considered essential for the growth and development of black business. One such project which was discussed and fully endorsed during the conference was the formation of a supermarket company to establish large shopping centers in the black townships. This would help harness the growing buying power of the black people in the urban areas and help to ensure that more purchases were made from black-owned shopping centers based within the townships. There was already growing recognition in the 1970s that blacks were generating an increasingly rising buying power in the country. However, that buying power was not benefiting black people, as purchases were primarily made in the white areas and not in the townships. Very little money was spent in the townships due to the small size of the shops that black people were allowed to own. It was the one-door, one-business principle which to a great extent restrained the growth of black business, as well as the limitation for black business to sell only 26 commodities in their shops. In order to attract more blacks to buy from township shops, bigger shops had to be established with a wide range of merchandise than was previously allowed. This necessitated the formation of bigger companies that could run large supermarkets in our townships. That was the thinking underlying the creation of a company to run larger stores and supermarkets in black townships. A company called the Black Chain was formed by NAFCOC in February 1977 with the express purpose of establishing large shopping centers in the townships. With Mr. S.J.J. Lesolang as its chairman, the company acquired its first site near the Baragwanath Hospital, where a medium-sized supermarket was opened in 1978. Raising capital for this project did not take a long time. What took long were the negotiations to secure permission and rights to build such a business center on municipal land. Government regulations at the time forbade blacks from owning or leasing land in the urban areas for periods longer than 30 years. After permission was granted to Black Chain Limited to lease land for 99 years in terms of legislation promulgated in 1978, the first store was built by the African Development and Construction Company, ADCC. Another NAFCOC-sponsored company registered in 1977 in partnership with Murray & Roberts Construction Company. Before the Black Chain opened its supermarket store at Diepkloof, Mr. Raymond Ackerman of Pick n Pay made a proposal to enter into a 51.49% partnership with Black Chain. Unfortunately, his proposal was rejected after discussions of the matter during the 13th NAFCOC conference held in Durban in 1978. The Black Chain Company, under the management of Mr. M.J. Majola, Mr. D.S. Ramakobia, and later of Mr. Paul Gama, encountered numerous managerial and cash flow problems until it eventually collapsed in 1994. Most of the problems of Black Chain were attributable to poor management and pilferage at the store.
That was another episode of the book, A Testament of Hope, the autobiography of Dr. Sam Motswenyane. The book is available online on www.kmmr.co.za, KMMR Publishers, and in all leading bookstores countrywide. It is broadcast on SAFM at 11:45 Monday to Thursday on The Talking Point. It is produced for the station by Vovi Patala, read by Samson Kumalo. Technical production, Wiseman Manele, Nanda Koza, and Tato Mapuruma.
It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 17th of July, 2025. A very warm welcome to Update at Noon here on SAFM. And leading the conversation for the next hour, I'm Sakina Kamwendo and...
I'm Tim Modise, and good afternoon to you.
Well, there you have it. That's the treat you're in for this afternoon, because the day has finally arrived. 75 years of SABC News. That's what we're celebrating, and that's why Pratham has come in. Pratham, how does it feel to be back?
Well, I'm feeling great. Wonderful to see so many of my former colleagues still here at the SABC, and walking around the building brings back fond memories for me.
Well, all I can say is that I'm honored and I'm humbled to share this space and these airwaves with one of the greatest. Well, coming up in the next hour.
During next year, approximately £54 million will be spent on capital works to supply South Africa with additional electric power.
And today marks 75 years since the existence of the SABC News Service.
Sakina, I just want to say, normally I'd be angry if somebody took my seat, but it's Tim Modise who's in my seat.
Yeah.
So I'm okay.
This is royalty.
There's the seat.
Radio
and then there's Tim's
royalty.
Seat. There is sport on the go. I'm going to tell you about the Open, but I'm also going to go back as far as I can in some sports news as well.
Yeah, I can't wait. And are you going back 75 years?
I can't. The oldest I found is like some 1980s stuff, early 80s. But I've also got some 90s as well.
I'll settle for that. Okay. John Chirika, of course, as always, with the sports news coming up in the second half of the show. And of course, we want to hear from you, Pratham. We want to hear people's reflections of SABC News over the years. And of course, we're going to speak to you about your moments as well.
Sure. I'm looking forward to it, and probably giving some background context to some of the clips and the stories that we will be talking about.
Can't wait. 41391, that's the SMS line number. Send us your views there, charged at R1.50 per SMS. You can get in touch via X, our handle at SABC News_radio, or you can send us a WhatsApp voice note on 082-692-3909. Well, these and more stories coming up on this Thursday edition of Update at Noon. Also, the 75th anniversary of SABC Radio and TV News. And, of course, here's our latest news with Ondela Mbana.
Thank you, Sakina and Brati Modisa. On the top stories, NPA files a notice of appeal in the Randburg Magistrates Court and claims of a potential coup in South Africa dismissed. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good day. The NPA has filed a